Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got the whole band here today. This is the MM101 and the 201. We are here today to grade us some Fractured Online. And we're gonna have some differing grades today. So it's gonna be interesting. Could be vocal. There could be some throwdowns tonight. You never know how this is gonna go. So
Throwdowns.
some throwdowns. Tonight we have our constant paladin, Mr. Nathan Napalm.
Yeah, happy to be here.
We also have our lore master, Therek.
Hello.
We have our builder slash crafter, Muujin.
Why am I the builder?
Because you're the only one that actually built anything.
Fox, help me out a little bit. What are you talking about?
We have Sparoh the pet master. Cryptofox, he's still undefeated in PvP. Stands in the fire, who will probably be breathing fire on Fractured Online tonight.
I have no idea what you mean. Y'all are in for it.
And
Tetsu, I'm thirsty. Do you have anything to drink?
I do. I have this can of Coke here. I can go ahead and pass this over to you.
All right. Appreciate it.
This is
We
some
have-
technical wizardry.
Wow.
we have
Yay.
that was excellent.
Practice that.
We have Tetsu the Charisma Suave.
That was a
Hello.
good pass there, Stans.
Oh my goodness. And off camera we have Desryn the Diseased.
Poor Desryn.
Who we love, but he is not fit for camera right now. So
You
it's
don't want to see this.
it's a huge group tonight. So we're gonna work our way through the grading. And the categories this evening are, I feel like Jeopardy. The categories are we have grouping rating, questing and crafting, classes, spells, skills, player versus player, sound and graphics, cash shop monetization, lore, immersion, and addictability and fun. And then the last one is your overall grade. And the overall grade isn't an average of the grades. It's how you feel about the game overall. What's your final grade? Sometimes that doesn't match up to the individual pieces. So we got a lot of people, so we got to get through some stuff tonight. So I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we're going to start off with grouping and rating. Mr. Nathan Napalm, take it away, sir.
All right. So first of all, most of the time that we were spent grouping, most of the vast majority of that we were literally running around to find things to do. So it was mostly just horse riding. So if that's what you're into, then Fractured Online is awesome for riding horses. The combat was super aggravating. It was the clicking and the accidentally moving, so it made the only thing I enjoyed doing, which would be combat and grouping up, pretty awful. I do not feel like this is a great game for grouping, and there's not enough content for it to actually feel sustainable. No dungeons, all the cool things that you would get with the group to do, not in this game. The only nice thing I can say about the grouping was that there's no limit to how many people you can put in your party, which was pretty cool, except for why not do that in your game when there's no fun content to do anyway? You might as well just allow a bunch of people to click, hold left, click all day long. So horrible, awful, probably the worst combat and worst grouping mechanics of any MMO we played so far. So I give it an F.
Ooh, starting out swinging. Nathan
Spitting us,
Napalm
dude.
with the F. With authority. With authority. All right, Therek, how are you going to follow that up?
I will say that when we started playing it and you said that was like grouping size was unlimited, I was like, what is that about? How is that going to work? I got to tell you, it did actually kind of work, I think, for the type of game that it is right now. That kind of unlimited posse size that we had of horse lords running around was fun. There's no grouping window. I know it's an early access title. We're going to say that a lot tonight, but there's no group window. hard to adjust to. It took me a while. I didn't mind it at all. Like I didn't mind it as much as I thought I would, but it's just so unusual not to have a group window on screen. The free for all looting is another aspect of the grouping. I think that is kind of was fun, but certainly not like they need to have a system. There needs to be some sort of system there, and there was none. The fact that one of the interesting things about the grouping is that our group was perma-grouped. We were never not grouped. We kept logging in. We were still in the same group, which is such a weird thing. And I gotta say, like, it kind of actually contributes to long-term cohesion. So, maybe it's something to think about. Maybe it's something for other MMOs to sort of look at and be like, maybe that'll promote like groups staying together long term. I thought that was an interesting thing.
I heard that Fractured Online, it was a Lord of the Rings thing. It's one group to rule them all.
It's your first group is your last group ever. It'll be the same group forever. There were just little things like those campfires that we couldn't all fit around. Like it's weird. And obviously, like Nathan said, there needs to be more content. It's just not enough. But the content that is there seemed to be intended for groups. So I got to give them points for that. I mean, I'm going to go contrast to what Nathan said here. I liked a lot of the grouping things that they offered. I thought that it did well. I gave it an A-. So a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum there.
As you may have figured out, we are a very diverse group of gamers, and we have very varied opinions about MMOs and what is fun for us. So that's part of the cool thing about the MMO 101/201 is you get lots of different viewpoints and opinions. So Mugen, he's the builder. He's also the horse lord because he got us all horses, which, dude, if we wouldn't have had horses, this game would have like really not gotten good grades because horses made this game way more fun than it would have otherwise been. So Mugen, what did you think about grouping/rating?
Well, I thought, I just went based on grouping size and all that stuff. So I gave it an A because I like the unlimited kind of aspect to it. I thought if you're gonna throw in combat and all that other stuff, then I gotta drop it down to about B+.
Yeah, I kind of separated out the combat a little bit too. So yeah, that's fair.
All right, so Sparoh, I just realized I did the exact opposite thing I said I was going to do. I said I was going to use the things on the bottom, and then I went across on the camera. So sorry.
No, it's good. Draq's on cruise control.
I was about to say, it looks like Sparoh gets the crappy green.
Yeah, I was going to say that crappy green is Des.
No. Sparrow's next. I got it. They're already pre-labeled, so I can't mess it up. That's part of the genius.
Okay, so I totally just went with the grouping and rating. I did not add in the combat or anything into this particular grade. I loved the large group size, and it was easy to group. We never had a problem going out, even as a really large mob. We would go out and find stuff to kill. We found stuff that was challenging. We still got, it's not really dead, I guess, but knocked down or whatever. We got killed a few times. So there was challenge there. And there was lots of content in the sense of, I've played enough games where it's super hard to find any group content. This wasn't difficult to find group content. I do agree, there wasn't dungeons and things like that, but there was still things to go out and kill. If that's what you're playing for, you just want to go out and grind, this game has that. So I gave the grouping an A+.
Oh,
nice.
Some higher grades here than I thought there might have been.
Well, don't worry, Stans hasn't gone yet.
Stans is going to bring it back down to earth. Desryn, what do you think?
Well, so I also didn't include too much of the combat in this analysis, but I did also like the open persistent group thing because even though it did have that window in the socials area, not having it on screen definitely was a little annoying. But I did like that it was persistent, like we could just log back in and, hey, I'm still with my group. But along with the grouping and rating thing, and I kind of considered the boss events rating.
Yeah.
the idea of them to bring a bunch of components to an altar from the surrounding area, I think, is really cool. But the fights itself were like underwhelming, to say the least. Just constant mobs, which I understand why they do it, but it still just didn't. It didn't quite feel as epic as I think it probably should have. And also, just there were no dungeons. That's a big part of grouping and raiding for me. So even if they added some overland camps, kind of near the tail end, I don't think that was very great. But overall, like I did have fun when we were grouped up, and there are group mechanics, like you can spec to be a healer, for example. So I gave it kind of just a C plus, but it got a lot brought down by the content that we had our choice of, even if it did exist.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we could have got to do that second altar spawn, but that didn't work
Mhm.
out. So we only
Dude,
got to experience the one.
My
I wonder
letter
if the
grade,
second one
my
was the same.
my letter grade, like that last week where stuff was just not working at all, it totally affected my overall grade. Like that was
Yeah.
I was a little morally defeated after that didn't happen. We'll get into that
Yeah,
though.
after we built that up, huh?
Oh my goodness. And we were like working at it and it was fun to do.
And we had the rare drop just
We-
randomly. We got the 1% drop, like, oh my God, it was such a lucky break. And then not to be able to utilize it was kind
Ugh.
of devastating.
It was. Cryptofox, what do you think? Grouping, rating.
Well, for me, I think the plus side is no limit, but also the minus, you need large groups to do things. And it's kind of counterproductive in my opinion. Rating, I mean, if you're always rolling around in a large group, what is rating? You know, I think it kind of loses the essence there. Uh, I overall I gave it a C minus. It's fun to like build stuff together in large groups. You create like a chain gang and do all kinds of cool little building stuff, but it needs content. C minus.
Perfect. All right, Stans, bring us back down to earth. Tell us mathematically why Fraction Online does not meet the bar.
So I'm going to go against the grain here. I really did not like the unlimited group size because I don't like the precedent that sets in a game, which is if this game continues to be successful and have a player base, the behavior that encourages is just mass grouping and zerging a zone. And that means that the guilds or groups of players who are going to succeed in this game are the ones who can just be that Zerg guild, the invite everybody and just roll around the zone as a massive group. That discourages actually being in a smaller, closer guild and group where you know the people you're playing with. When the most effective tactic is however many people are in the zone, we're all just grouped together and going. So it's nice in concept. I don't like what it actually promotes if you extrapolate down the road. It doesn't have a party UI. The all free for all loot kind of really detracted from things. The mini map lies about where the people in your group are, which is really rough.
Worse than no mini map is a mini map that lies.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's
You have the combination of even when you're grouped, you still lose out on XP if you're a healer or if you're melee and you're having to run from mob to mob. So the group XP setup works really well if you are an archer or a ranged wizard class. If you're melee or support, you get hosed. No, I gave this a flat out F. I didn't like the experience and I didn't like the concept.
I was typing in the wrong thing. F. All right. So, Tetsu.
So I will first say the good thing about it is that it has large parties. The bad thing about it is that it has large parties. So it's
The lose-lose.
yeah, I mean, because it's great that you can, have all the people in your, like, for us, right? But ours is like a special situation. It's kind of almost like a raid. But when it comes to when you have that big of a party, I feel you lose strategy, and like Stans was saying, it just becomes a Zerg fest. All 8 people on the server are just gonna Zerg that mob, and there's no strategy behind it. So, I mean, it. I gave it a C because I'm like, it's cool, but you lose like any form of strategy on it. Everyone pretty much said what I thought, but yeah, I mean, it's cool, but you lose so much of it. But I did like that we were still in a group afterwards. I never left the group, even when I was in bed sleeping. We were still part of the group. I never stopped playing.
Dude, if
So
you uninstall the game and reinstall it, we'll still be in
You're
the same
still
group
in a
together.
group.
we're probably
Yeah.
still in the group right now, to be
I
honest.
know what you guys talking
So-
about. I'm still patching.
Yeah, there you go. That's
So what you're saying is Nathan is still a part of our group in Fractured Online.
You'll always be part of Fractured
Forever.
Online.
You never can leave, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, you guys said a lot of the stuff that I was gonna say. I it's weird because like I was with everybody else. I was like, what in the world? How is this possibly gonna work with unlimited group size? And I did ask the question in Discord, and one of the developers answered unlimited group size. It's not like it's big; it's unlimited. So my
Wow.
question is then, what's the purpose of a guild, right? Why wouldn't you just or here's another question.
One guild.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't the whole server band together and just be against the thing, especially if you're on the not PvP server? Like,
That'd be
what's
smaller
that's
than a
better.
normal raid these days, though.
right?
Yeah.
There's only like 31 people online.
But I mean,
I think that's a LAN party,
what,
Nathan.
what's stopping people from do that, right? That you're as Stan said, you're promoting bad behavior. You want people to form up in small groups and go around and do stuff, and encouraging one giant group is while it was cool for us because we could all roll and it didn't matter who showed up that week and we never had to like arrange that. So it worked well for our format, but I think overall for an MMO, it's kind of rough. So I gave it a B plus. I liked it; was fun for this game. I would never do it in any other game, and I think it was one of the highlights of Fraction Online, the large size grouping. But the problem is overall, I think it leads to bigger problems down the road. So. All right, so on to number 2, questing. I know this is going to be one of Nathan's favorite topics, so we'll start it off. Nathan, how did you feel about the questing in Fractured Online?
Well, I'm gonna answer that question with another question. What quests? There are no NPCs. I guess the tutorial maybe is the quest system in the game, which was god awful. Go pick up some rocks, pick some limbs off of trees, make the stuff. Now get the heck out of here. Now go into the boring, empty world with a couple of mob camps, one every 100 miles. And also, here's some towns we made for you. Also, it's dead empty like it's the apocalypse because we didn't put NPCs in the game. Nobody to talk to, nobody to get quests from. And this whole thing of like, yeah, man, it's a sandbox. That's not how sandboxes work. The ultimate sandbox MMORPG for many years has been Ultima Online, who invented that style. Has quests, has NPCs, has things happening, does things in the towns and places, and to make you go out and explore and find new places, and then make your own adventures beyond that. Awful, worst. I mean, honestly, if it just came down to just playing the game every day, I would rather play literally any other MMO on the market because there's just nothing here to do for me. There's no content. It's just go kill stuff, and that is your quest, and I think it's awful. The crafting, I do not enjoy crafting, and I really hated it in this game because it was more survival style, and not even good survival style, kind of like crappy, low quality survival style. And it's kind of forced on you. You kind of, if you want to play this game, unless you make friends or whatever, and they do that for you, then you're kind of forced to craft and make your own things and all that kind of stuff, because that's the way the game is designed. So I hated it. It's only my hatred for other topics that saved it from getting even lower of a score, which I gave it an F for this.
Nathan
That was a
is
burn.
super consistent. All right, we're going with the colors this time. So
colors?
Therek along the bottom.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that I complain a lot about questing in MMOs these days being sort of mundane tasks that are meaningless. I didn't realize how much I missed those mundane tasks until I played Fractured Online, because there was like not even those. Like there's not even those. Maybe
Just
maybe
give
it's
me
better
a
to,
fetch quest. Something.
dude. Just I want to kill some rats. Can I kill some rats for a reward? Can I do that? No, apparently
Won't
not.
somebody go tell me to talk to somebody?
Yeah, seriously, man. Like it made all these other MMOs we played questing look good, which is ridiculous. So, what are you gonna say? There's no questing, there's no NPCs. That sucks. It's heavily focused on crafting. It's so central to the game, but that's all very much sort of short-circuited by the fact that there's no recipe drops in the continent we were playing on. I mean, there are, but they were so few and far between. I mean, you couldn't craft other than the basic stuff without one of those recipe drops coming in. And like, it's okay. It's a good idea as long as you've got a healthy economy and a player base. And this game has neither of those things right now. So it doesn't work when there's no way to there's no real economy. The auction house was there, but it is what it is. It just doesn't have people playing it right now. So it doesn't really work. Yeah, I'm not a huge crafter either, so I'm not the best, authority when it comes to evaluating a crafting system. But overall, with the questing being so pathetic, I gave it a C-.
All right, Muujin, who did craft some
Nope.
stuff.
Isn't it Desryn?
Oh no, Desryn. Wrong.
You just said you were going by colors, man.
I know, I'm so bad at this.
Thank God,
So we're going
Sparrow's
by
I think
colors.
we need to number our
Sparrow's now in charge of telling who's
Yeah.
next.
Sparrow's taking over the stream.
Desryn,
number
Desryn.
Best.
Hold
No
on.
way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with them, like, what questing. So that's already kind of been said. And the tutorial was like fine, but there was nothing there. The crafting, I didn't mind it so much. Once you kind of figured out how the fees worked, I guess. It was just okay, I would say. The one thing that saves this from just being a flat F is the enchantment, though. I did find the whole enchantment system to be actually really interesting. How you have all these different components to form a overall buff on an item. I just thought that was really interesting in the way they kind of implemented that. It had, a good little bit of mystery to it. So that was really neat. But even with that, I am graciously going to give this a D-.
All right. All right, so now we're on to our third green square, which
best
the
square.
best green square, which is Sparoh.
I'm not
Y'all
even
had
gonna
a
deny that.
discussion on. Have y'all had a discussion on who's gonna change their color?
Look, we did that off stream. All right, let's
Yeah,
not bring
I'll
that.
stick with
let's not bring that
Cyberpunk
on.
It's-
too.
it was-
Might want to zip up the pouch for this one.
It was very heated. I also just realized what Desryn said. On the Noob Island, there was quests
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
they told us to go kill bandits, right?
Well, they
Yep.
didn't tell us. The UI told us.
Whatever. At least it was
Or
something,
something.
right?
Yeah.
But then you got to the main island and it was like, nope, none of that. I did.
Yeah, it literally feels like the game stops at that point. Oddly enough, it's really weird.
All right, Sparoh. Questing, crafting.
Oh yeah, I mean the same thing everyone said. There is no questing other than the tutorial at the beginning for 10-20 minutes. You get through that and then you're on your own. So if it was just questing, it would get an F here. But because we added crafting into it, I thought it was basic crafting. It was okay. I generally like crafting, and this was just kind of middle of the road. nothing exciting. I wasn't immersed in the game at all because there was no real story, there was no NPCs, there was no questing. So I am going with Des on this one, D-.
Okay. Cryptofox?
It would help if my picture didn't close. Hold on. All right, it's frozen. What did I say? All right, there it is. So questing, no quests, obviously. It's a complete sandbox. Fine, sure. Like Nathan was pointing out, there's not really a whole lot of stuff to do there other than, hey, that thing over there, it should die and turn into my coat. Uh, so I did do a lot of crafting. I got to tier 4 on the medium armor and the common clothes armor. Um, and I got to like tier 2 or 3 on like the staff. Uh, s- there's just too much inconsistency with like the crafting system. It's not always like upgrading the material. Um, but I do see like the set bonuses and stuff like that being a thing and having to go out and find like the crafting recipes, but I think there's still a little more opportunity there for them to engineer a reason for these creatures that have a recipe inside of them when there are no NPCs out in the world to write down on the paper for them to eat and all that. Yeah. So, uh, yeah, I gave it a big old whomping D. I see the attempt there. That's the only thing that's saving it from an F.
Dance.
So Draq, I apologize. I didn't ask before stream. What's my profanity budget for tonight?
We have run the timeless warning, so you're good to go. With this, I'll go back through and edit for YouTube.
Yeah. So this is the part where I take a small aside because I always try to be the one to be at the very least objective about what we're doing. I firmly believe that I don't like something does not automatically equal something is bad. And I factor that into the grading, which is why I've graded some games in places much higher than my personal enjoyment of them because I can see good things in them. This game fucking broke me.
Yeah, Nathan. That's a lighter.
Hold on, Nathan. I'll raise
Nathan's
you.
feeling it, the vibe. Oh man.
Yeah, this is the game where I could I could no longer stand back and wow. You see what you did, Nathan? You see what you did?
Everybody's carrying the torch.
I was feeling that.
Yeah. As far as the questing, like everybody said, this is not questing. There are some breadcrumbs that could lead to some interesting quests. Again, the idea of bringing materials to an altar to spawn something would be cool if that was something that led to more things down the road, if that was a start rather than the only thing that actually happened. And if the thing that happened to start that wasn't just several minutes of enemies coming in waves that give you no XP, no loot, but yet are still lootable, giving you the combat looting bug. And then a boss at the end. So
go ahead. Sorry.
So you get the combo of that and crafting. There's a lot of interesting facets to the crafting system in this game. Like Crypt was saying, he went down the road a little bit further. The problem is all of the actual interesting things in crafting happen way too late in the game to actually be a hook. there's nothing early on to make crafting interesting for the people who don't automatically just want to craft, to hook them in and say, no, come craft in this game. It is a thing that is a core design decision. So come interact with it. There's just making random gear over and over again. So I gave this a D only on the promise of the mid to late game crafting system and what it shows that it shows no evidence of in the beginning game.
Yeah, that's really well said. That's pretty much encapsulates what I think you summed it up really, really well there. So
Sorry, it's a little distracting. I'm not sure. We just got
We got hate followed.
60,
We have to ban
60
them.
follows
Yeah.
of very suspicious origins. So I'm not even sure how to shut that off.
Yeah, I've been looking in the moderator settings.
Yeah, same.
I don't
If
see any way to undo it.
I can stop there. I'll stop the events, but I think it's still going to play the sound.
Yeah, just mute the alert box for now, and I'll take care of banning them from the activity feed.
Well, I have to hold on. I got to go into Streamlabs, I think, and shut the sound off.
No, you just click the eyeball in OBS to turn off the alert box.
No, but the sound still plays even when the alert box is off.
Okay.
Hold on. Seriously.
I'll take care of the bans. Don't worry about it.
Follow. Okay, no, I want the sound. Where's the sound?
Well,
sorry.
Well, let's go. Well, Draq is doing that. Tetsu, do you want to?
Yeah. So my score. What did I say? I put. What's the positive? Positive was. Did it? No.
What's the
No,
positive?
never mind. Never mind. I only had negative.
It's lost in the document somewhere.
Right back screen.
Yeah, I had to take it off for a second. I killed it, so it's all the way dead now. Sorry to people that actually want to follow us.
Yeah, that's super
It's fine. I can recognize the bots, Draq. It's okay.
All right.
I got this.
Perfect.
You got a bot detector.
Yeah. Well, the bot detectors, they sometimes ban real people because of the naming that they have.
That someone asked, why do I care? I care because it's spamming the follow sound over and over and over again. It's really hard to comment while that's going on.
Yeah, it's very disruptive.
I mean, if it was real people and they're actually joining the community, I'm all for it. But there's still only 16 people watching this stream, so there's no way 60 people followed us. So
no. Anyway, go on, Tetsu. Sorry,
Tetsu.
Okay. No, you're fine. I don't know. Yeah, no. So the the quests are non-existent, and then I said crafting made sense, somewhat. No, it made sense, but it didn't really matter. There you go. It made sense how to do it. So I'm like, I guess that's a good thing. So I gave it a D. I'm like, not complete F. I'm like, at least it made sense how to craft. So that's pretty much it.
They stayed within the conventions of crafting, at least on some level.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Perfect. Stans, I'm sorry I missed your grade. Was it an F?
Nope, it's D.
Oh. Perfect. Mujin. Questing,
Yes.
crafting.
We're questing, except for the tutorial. I like the tutorial thing fine, but they need more questing. I agree with everybody else. Although I'm not a big quest hub guy, I like a basic kind of quest, get me the lore and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to the lore. We'll get to the lore.
That gets its own grade. Oh, that's not going to be good.
But Mujin has a really good point though, because quests are one of the biggest ways that games can get us out interacting with the lore.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
that's true.
Well, I got into all the building and all that stuff. I like the building of the house and all that stuff. You got the group build for the house if you wanted to, or you could do it solo. It was easy enough to do if you wanted that for all the the housing, the furniture, and all that stuff. Even the basic crafting of like gear and weapons, I thought the variety of stuff that you needed for that was also good. What really got me annoyed on crafting was actually the resource part of it, which is the timers. 5-hour timers, 17-hour timers. No, thank you. And because of that timer stuff, I dropped it down to a C minus.
Yeah, you were really into it for a while there. I remember when you sort of turned Mugen on when we were like playing, and you were like, you realized what was going on. You're like, wow, that changes everything.
Yeah.
It was really fun running around with Mugen and a few other people, like making the horse cart, connecting it, moving out to the trees, hacking, then chain ganging it to the the cart, taking it back and like building everything, seeing the walls come up, seeing all the materials we needed to gather together. And I thought about that and it was just like, all right, multiply that by like, 15, 20 buildings and how many people you would have to do that as like a guild, you know. It seemed interesting to me at the time.
Yeah.
I agree.
For me, dude, okay, I'm with you. You don't want to do questing. That's gonna be your like I draw the line here moment. Okay, that's fine. Then you better make like, and you're not gonna have mobs or animals or anything that drops items. Okay, that kind of sucks, but okay, that's your deal. Then it better be like everything better be dropping stuff, and you better be like working me through crafting for everything, and it better be like I should be able to go through like intro crafting and like figure out what the heck is going on. But it was not that way. It was so complicated and boring. How can it be complicated and boring at the same time?
That's a hard thing to achieve,
It
actually.
was super hard. And I was open to crafting, and I'm never open to crafting, but I was like, okay, this is what this game is, so like I'm gonna try it. But it was weird and like and then to get to like the level 2 stuff, and then it's like all of a sudden you need all this stuff, and you're like, I have no idea. Like maybe if you had a quest to like take you to an area to find some drops, like that would have been like, but there was nothing. You were just like, okay, you need these 5 things, and you're like, but where do those 5 things come from? And some of those things don't even drop on your continent, right? You have to pay thousands of gold to cross the ocean to the other continent to get to finish crafting your thing, which you can't craft in your town because you your town doesn't have the right faction, or it didn't go the right way with the crafting stations or whatever. I don't even know enough to know, but like, so you're just stuck and you can't do anything, and you just sit there and you're like, well, I guess I don't do crafting. And then that's where I ended up. I don't do crafting at all.
Well, I did find out one thing. You could go to somebody else's city and go craft there, and then you'd be charged a tax or a fee to craft. So you could actually make your advanced items.
Yeah,
if you want to travel.
Des said it
So
in
just
chat.
like New World.
Oh my goodness! If you're gonna make it super complicated, it better be at least interesting, right? So, and it was not. It was the worst. It was the worst of both spectrums. So no quest, and the crafting was brutal. So it gets an F. This is the worst part of the game for me. The absolute worst part. All right, so that wraps a bow on questing and crafting. How about classes, spells, and skills? Nathan.
I'm first up. All right. So
Sorry, Nathan. Just an update real quick, Draq. We got all of the bots handled.
Boom. Thank you, Cryptofox. You're amazing.
Good job, dude. So
nicely done.
I did think it was interesting this that they had like you could go kill mobs and grind them out and get a skill for, some skills from. That was very cool. I like that. Also, I want to say that I thought the skill tree was pretty extensive and kind of impressive. I will say also though about the mob thing, it's a pretty long grind. And with the low population, it's not something that's going to be easy for people to be able to go do that. Because most of the time when you go out and do those, they're pretty difficult and they swarm you, and it's just not going to be a fun time. and I also felt like that's a cool idea, but it could have been implemented a little better, as opposed to just literally watching a separate experience bar go up to get that unlocked. I just felt like that was kind of the laziest way to do that. I would have thought it would have been more exciting if it had been a random drop off of mobs, or even cooler if you would have got skills from bosses that were out in the world. Which that may be in the game, but I think that would have been a cooler way to actually do their entire system, as opposed to just kill 5,000 spiders like it is now. So it felt like the bad kind of grind, especially when it's supposed to be a party-based situation most of the time. But like, we had a party because we have a static, but like, dude, there's like 34 people online right now, right? Like, people are not going to be able to do that content. So I just feel like it really fell flat on its face. But the extensive skill tree where you could really go in and make your own class, I thought that's pretty cool. So I did give this a C.
Whoa. The room was shocked. Derek.
So this was the best part of the game for me. This is what's actually going to make me come back and play it when it launches. Because I think this is really interesting. You were basically getting your skills and abilities by learning from the things you were doing in the world. You could target specific mobs because you could pull them up in the bestiary and see what skills they had, and you could go to that area because it was something you wanted or you needed. I think that's a really, really fun way of doing it. I like that. The grind is there, yeah, but I found it to be reasonable. I did like that they used the base stats fairly well. It was very, they showed you the formulas for your skills and what stats they were using. So I thought that was a good way of doing it. This kind of a system, it feels kind of unique in the genre. I don't think anything does anything quite like this, unless somebody knows something, but I don't. But I just think anything when you make things rare, rare loot, whether it's skills or even loot or something like that, it's a good system, and I'm all for that. The one thing that was annoying was that there were some limitations regarding the spells you could use based on your weapons and your armor you were wearing. I thought that was annoying because I wanted to shoot fire armors, but I couldn't wear medium armor to do it. So yeah. So Nathan, you've got a troll right behind you.
Don't turn around.
It came from Reddit. It came from Reddit, guys.
This stream is full of shenanigans.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, we got trolls on stream and in real life.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely Halloween.
That was terrifying. I'm like, gut shivers.
I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what's going on?
I thought we were about to lose Nathan.
Yeah.
Fractured was coming to get him.
Yeah, that was a fractured dab right there.
Fractured
I
came
survived.
protecting back in.
If I hadn't said anything, there would have been a garrote wire around Nathan's neck right now.
They've gotten past the defenses.
Anyway, just to finish up what I was saying. So, I mean, I liked, the limitation a little bit with regard to skills and their effectiveness. So, like, the fact that the fire arrows used intelligence, I thought was interesting, even though it made it annoying for me because I wanted to use them and int wasn't my stat. But if I really wanted to, I could build up my intelligence stat. We've been talking about this with Pantheon lately about the importance of stats and like where you're going to build your character around them and how they're going to impact your abilities. So I think it's cool. I think it's a good system. This is the best part of the game. Like I said, I gave it an A+.
All right, Desryn.
This was 100% the highlight of this game for me, for sure. Like I really liked how you acquired abilities from like specific enemies, and not only specific enemies, but specific enemies to use those abilities. I think is a really cool thing. It's like you see something, well, what was that? And you're like, well, if I kill enough of these, like I'll get it.
Right.
Having said that, I do agree with I think it was Therek that said something about maybe or one of you guys about how it was kind of a little too predictable. Like it really was. If you had another person you're killing with, you would get the skill at the same time, which kind of felt a little odd. But yeah, that whole like knowledge point system, I actually really liked, especially because they had you split your knowledge points between abilities and passives. I thought that was a pretty meaningful choice, even if you could eventually get like all the passives more or less. Um, so that was really cool. Uh, and I also like even though the enemies were kind of like randomly, spread out, it felt like a lot of times they were, pretty varied. And their abilities were pretty varied. Uh,
They
eh,
blended in a lot.
yeah, I feel, I feel like the scattering of mobs wasn't great. Like it felt a little too random, but the mobs themselves and the abilities themselves were pretty great. And because those abilities are player abilities, also like that's why I kind of tie it in here. Um, I do want to kind of shout out to the death mechanic because I don't know where else this fits, right? uh, but the death mechanic was kind of interesting. Death mechanic being, if you died, you lost a portion of your max HP, but you would, revive automatically. Downside of that, didn't need a res, right? But overall, yeah, there were a lot of really cool abilities, and a lot of the cool abilities were ones that you got from like bosses, right? Which unfortunately, that whole thing was a negative, but that you have to go out and, kill difficult things to get cool abilities, I think is just something that really stuck with me. So this is a high point for the game for sure for me. I still have to give it an A minus though, because there's definitely improvements that could be made. But it is basically the entire game for me, as far as positives, is the spells and skills.
Yep.
Yep. Sparrow?
So I thought the class and skills where you earn the knowledge points was overly complicated. I actually didn't enjoy it at all, especially when I first started and was trying to figure everything out. A lot of what were they called? Were they traits or something? The second one, not your skills, but
The
the second
wheel?
page.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
the
wheel thing was
Talents.
talents. Yeah, those to me were really strange, and I didn't even know what the stats were for a lot of
not
things.
not well documented at all.
Not
No.
at all. So I was just kind of randomly throwing points into that, going down one of the lines I thought might suit how I wanted to play, but I really didn't know what I was, excuse me, what I was doing. Let me grab a drink here. But sorry guys. Um, the good part is the spells. I did enjoy what other people were saying about killing things and getting different spells from different creatures. Maybe it wasn't implemented the best, but I did enjoy it. I did find it interesting. I was scrolling down kind of the mob page to see what spells I would get or abilities I would get from killing them. So overall, I gave it a C plus. With the class and skills, I really didn't like that, but the spells kind of brought it up a bit.
Cryptofox.
You're muted, Crip.
Cryptofox.
There we go. So I have a couple notes, like one, no classes, sure, fine. Other games have survived on a no class system. Uh, the skills are fun, and I saw because I crafted and was able to see like some of the traits of having full sets of gear. You could come up with some really interesting builds, with the advanced gear. Like I know the warlock armor, just how cool it was, and the thought of like coupling that type of armor with like the life leech spell was really interesting because the armor itself is said that if you run out of mana, you start using health, right, to power your abilities. But then you have access to the different life leeching abilities. So you could perpetually just stand there and life leech as long as your intelligence is high enough, you could heal through any of the damage. So I thought that was really interesting. And see the potential there once the game gets a little bit more filled out. Um, the skill trees, I was able to understand uh because like they have like these coupling um, like circles on the tree at certain points where it's split down the middle, and down the other end of it, it gives you access to another set of traits and things and passives. But the only way to get to those ones is if you go down each of the different trees to that coupling point with points to unlock those other abilities. So there's some thought there. It reminded me of like Final Fantasy X kind of skill tree system, or Path of Exile. So I see like all the potential that's there. I think it really has to go through a lot of refinement to get it to a really usable space for, the people who are gonna eventually play this outside of early access. But I think the skills are fun once everything's implemented. I still gave it a D though.
Okie dokie. Stands.
Right. So a lot of what everybody else has said. Couple of things that I wanted to just kind of point out is with my particular build, I had several skills which about half the time would finish their little rotating cast and then do nothing. They wouldn't fire off. They wouldn't initiate a cooldown. They would finish their entire little circular animation and nothing would happen. I would have been standing there for 2 seconds or whatever it was, doing nothing. Not particularly great when you're in melee and a big, troll is pounding on you and you just spent that time eating hits. The skill acquisition by going out and acquiring them from mons is interesting and it's a good concept. The problem I had with it was that you're very much at the mercy of scenarios like, all right, cool, I am this build, this class, I use these weapons. I got in a group. We're rolling around the world and we're killing these particular mobs. Let's see, what do all those mobs give? All right, cool, I'm getting nothing tonight. None of the things that we're killing are going to be dropping anything that's remotely useful for me. All right, cool. And basically all of our sessions past the tutorial and the spiders to get the jump skill, I unlocked with all the different mobs we were killing one skill that actually worked in my build. We got a lot of cool caster and rogue and archer skills.
Yeah.
I added one skill to my loadout in our entire playtime as a melee/tank because you're totally at the mercy of the things that you're killing is your progression, and you just kind of suck it up for the group. So I gave it a C. It's interesting, but it has a lot of drawbacks the way it's implemented right now.
You know what I noticed, Stans? And I actually had this written down, is the support skills and the healer skills were the ones that were on the rarest of bosses. And also the tanking. So healing and tanking were the hardest skills to get. Like the DPS skills were off all the common little mobs there was a billion of them.
And tanks and healers are the two classes or archetypes or loadouts that are most likely to lose out on XP in killed mobs because you're either moving or healing.
Uh-oh.
You're screwed big time.
Who did we lose?
Somebody just dropped out of Discord.
Oh no, everything is broken.
Looking at the tops of everybody's head.
It was Mugen.
Scout check. Scout check.
We lost Mugen. No.
There
He's
he
back.
is. But he's in the wrong spot.
You just gotta
Oh,
flip
no.
you gotta
It's
flip
like
your camera
over.
on, Mugen. Did he flip it on? There he goes. Nope.
Pop him back
Ta-da!
There we go.
Nice.
We're good. We're good.
You got AFK.
Saved.
All
Why
right.
did I get AFK out?
I don't know. Okay,
Whoa.
so Stan, were you done, Stans?
Yep.
Perfect. Tetsu.
Such an eventful night, huh, guys?
Jeez. Tetsu, you're
Tetsu,
muted.
you're muted.
There we go. All right. So I put for this one. I did pretty much what everyone was saying. The skill tree was good. That the plus was the skill tree. I like how Crypt mentioned it was like the Final Fantasy X spear grid. So that was cool. It also had, I would say, blue magic. That's in lots of Final Fantasies where you hit the mob or the mob hits you with it or whatever it is, and then you get the ability. So it had another Final Fantasy type thing. So probably why I gave it a bit of a higher score. The spells and skills never really felt impactful, to be honest. I had like some type of fire shield, but I don't really get hit. And I had some other random thing, which I think was like a ice blast, but we were in an ice zone or something like that. So that didn't work out quite well, but the abilities didn't feel impactful. It was cool how you got them. I will give them that's probably like their best feature in this entire game. So good on them for that. Um, so I gave them a B. It wouldn't be an A because half the time I couldn't use this stuff. But yeah, that was pretty much it.
Mugen.
The concept of learning from one's enemies. Not sure if any of you really looked at the creature sheets fully, but it also listed what they were weak against, what they were vulnerable against, all that fun stuff. That was a nice add-on. You didn't get all of it right away. You had to keep killing them, and you eventually learn more and more about them. I thought that was a cool concept. Way too many of the abilities seem like caster abilities and stuff like that, so kind of dropped me down. Even some of my strikes had mana cost to them. I was like, why?
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, I found all kinds of strikes that work well with my rogue stuff. I had like four or five unlocked, and 3 of them I could actually use decently because they didn't have mana cost. But 2 of them I had to drop because they did. So I dropped it down to a B+.
Very nice. Yeah, I thought this was the highlight of the game. I thought by far and away my favorite part. And I am a guy that hates classless MMOs. Like I hate it. But this had some charm to it. And you know what the charm for me is the camping. Because I could sit down and I could just I love camping and grinding camps, right? That's my favorite things, or dungeons, whatever. It doesn't even, I know Nathan's gonna say that there are no dungeons in Fraction Online. It doesn't have to be. It could be a camp, whatever, an outdoor camp. I love just sitting there and grinding, and so that's what I did. And I got one of the really hard ones to get was the Goblin Shaman Totem, and dude, it took me like 2.5 weeks of just sitting there trying to weasel them away from. That's when other people were still playing. Weasel away from other people because everybody wanted it, right? And I finally got it, and it was super cool. So, and that for me was an exciting moment, and I was excited to have a skill that not everybody got, right? And so it was super fun, and I think they need to lean into that heavily, right? There should be 3 times as many mobs on that continent, and they should have 400 more skills, right? And it should just be a smorgasbord of, and you're right. There's way more caster skills and spells than anything else. There needs to be tons of melee skills and tons of tanking skills and tons of healing skills to mix it up. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to add in right after we all stopped playing, and they put in a patch that added in the stuff that the old other continents had, which was random encounters and all that stuff. So you could open up chests for loot, and there were mobs out in the world. So I found a few not too far from where we built their house. So if that would have been in sooner, it would have probably been a lot better for us.
But we played the game that they presented to us.
Yep,
dude.
I agree.
Well, there was that, and I was just going to mention that too. As usual, I picked the absolute worst spot to be in every MMO. If there's a faction choice or a place to start choice, I always choose the absolute worst one. I was Hibernia. I was in Vanguard. I started on the continent that wasn't finished. Like I picked the worst choices ever, and we did, right. Our continent wasn't as finished as the other continent when we played, and we didn't know that because we didn't know anything about the game. We just was like, okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, going north. We're doing the frost. And yeah, it was rough because it wasn't finished. But I give it an A-. I thought it was the best thing the game had going for it. And it was a lot of fun, even though it's classless. So
And just for folks who might not have seen us playing and are listening here, we played on the human planet, whatever
Yes.
that one was.
yes.
Yeah.
I also heard that there's more people playing on the PvE only nature world. So
Well, there used to be.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't
There's
know.
like nobody playing the game now.
There's no
Like literally, Steam charts 30 people.
really. Yikes. All right, well, let's move on to PvP. I know this is going to get a lot of great grades.
Tetsu and Crypt are drinking some Coke just to stay awake through the rest of the stream.
Yeah. Stans is helping them out.
Yeah.
Nathan, how did you feel about PvP, Nathan?
Well, once again, I'm going to ask you a question. What other players? So we tried to experience it on our last stream, but we literally didn't run into a single other person. And that's because of all the issues that we've been talking about, going to continue to talk about. A lot of people found all these things and left. So PvP's not going to be good ever because the game is dying. And will it make a comeback? Yeah, it could when they do a full launch. I don't foresee this being a success, however, with all the weirdness that it has. And I mean, they've got their work cut out for them. And of course, they're going to have to be able to fund themselves to launch. And it's not looking good. So I think that player versus player is an absolute bomb dive. Not good. Because you got to have players, and they don't have players. And what's player versus player when there's no player to versus? So F.
I think I'm clipping that.
Literally read the notes off my
Therek,
page, Nathan.
yeah.
That's exactly. I had the same thing. PvP games fail because there are no players. This game has no players, therefore it fails. Like that's like, potential for greatness. They've marketed this as a PvP, primarily as a PvP game with the 3 factions and all, being sort of, in conflict of some sort. And it's not there right now. So yeah, what else is there to say? It's an F, 100%.
Desryn.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
Either I mean, I didn't get to experience PvP. I will point out I do like the idea of the alignment system, where you choose one of the 3 alignments that gives you different positives and negatives to your, if you're vulnerable, if you're going to lose something, if you're not going to lose anything, but you don't get the benefits of certain things. I like that choice a lot, but when it comes down to it, I never got to experience PvP. Not only because of no other players, but also because they block you from PvP for the first 40 hours or so.
You can click that off.
Yeah,
you
unless
can't,
unless you force it, right? But even when I did change my alignment, which was from the get-go, I never encountered any PvP. So either I give this a C or an NA because I never got to experience it. So
Yeah.
Okay, Sparoh.
I just put NA because I didn't get to participate in any PvP. I guess it could either be an F or an NA. I did not like the picking the faction system actually because when we went to group, I had to change it anyway. So what was really my choice? If we wanted to group with our friends, we had to pick what the majority of people wanted. And there were people who picked one side, the other side, and then the majority of people had picked, I think, neutral. So we went with neutral. So the choice really didn't matter in the end anyway. You just had to play what you were told to play, what the majority of people wanted to play. So that's my only take on it. I guess NA works.
Cryptofox.
There was PvP in this game. What? I didn't see any. I didn't. You guys may have given it Fs, but I didn't even give it a score.
You're
Yeah.
NA.
yeah, NA. Wasn't there, but yeah.
Not available.
Not available, non-existent.
Okay.
Maybe I should put an NE.
Non-existent.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, here we go. There you go. There you are, Crip. Stands.
I went with an NA rather than an F, and specifically because I think there's some interesting things they're looking to do with it that are just not going to work in early access almost no matter what they do, because they're not going to have the player base in the game and through the initial part of the game up to the point where they can now stop doing the one thing and focus on PvP. So this is one I would be interested to see what it becomes if it's able to get its feet under it.
Tetsu.
I guess I should have put NA or NE or NH, like it never happened. Well, I should have put NH. That's what I wrote. I never had. That's actually what I wrote in my thing. It never happened. But I gave it an F because technically it is a thing, right? And now I feel bad because it could be good if we actually tried it. Now that I think about it, so it could have been good, but yeah, it just never happened. Even if we would have found that one dude picking up a rock and just would have like zerged them or whatever, I would at least been happy with that. Sworn that one guy just picking up a rock and like, what's happening?
Well, see, I don't want I don't want to like make fun of somebody's work, but it takes a lot of time, effort, and planning and everything to like put a game together. But I don't know. There just has to be a lot more intentional placement of work when you're bringing a game into early access.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like, I'm not. I don't want to like rag on them too much. I guess I'm giving them bad scores, but it is early access, and two, I mean, they tried something. I give them like, the gust. Like, they actually tried. They didn't, do monetization, even though they got bought out by Game Ago and whatnot. But that's why I don't want to go too hard on them. But it wasn't. Not that can't even say it wasn't done well. Just there was no one to fight. So I don't know.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
NH never happened. There you go.
yeah, and this is exactly why I hate this trend of games coming out with this early access. You're selling us a game that you're thinking is ready to be sold, and it's not finished. The systems aren't there, and it isn't even a game at that point. I wish people would stop doing this. I mean, we used to say, Vanguard got pushed to come out too early, and look what happened. It got this bad rap. Now they're all doing it on purpose. It's like, stop doing that. This is horrible. You get such a bad rap when you come out like this and you think a game's finished, you go to try it and you're like, oh, well, I guess it's early access. What do we expect? Well,
Early access is killing games nowadays.
yes,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Because I'm never
Sorry, I
coming
got
back.
on a little rant there. Yeah, no, me either.
And Nathan's definitely not coming back.
Nope, I'm done.
Like, it doesn't matter what they add. We're not coming back. Like, it's sad because I think this game had a lot of potential.
I mean, I would uninstall, but I'm still patching.
How many times did that happen to you, Crip? Like 3? It
I
was
don't know.
horrible.
I haven't seen you guys in game in like months.
He secretly joined the Monday Night North After Dark crew. Mujin, he actually, I think, did some PvP. The only one among us that actually got some PvP in.
Yep, I unlocked because I got the knowledge of 80,000 before the 40 hours were up. So I got to experience some PvP. Can I put down a score of ganked? Because that's what I got. 8 on 1.
A G. You get a G.
Get a G.
There you go. So what did you think about, I guess, your being ganked?
Did you like it?
It was interesting. I was riding out of town thinking nothing of it, and then all of a sudden the guy triple teleports on me, and I'm riding on my horse, and he throws down some earthquake spell, which stops me, and all of a sudden his posse comes in, and I'm dead. What can I do? I tried to do my jump ability to get back into town, but nah, it didn't happen.
There was no NPC guards to bring them to.
Well, the towns have a peaceful area, so that's what I thought. Maybe if I get back to the peaceful area, I could live. But I was pretty much dead by the time
You
Yeah.
made that guy's day. I'll tell you that right now.
He was like, finally, I found someone.
Yeah, you totally did.
Dude.
That group's day, because they were out in force,
Yeah.
and
I
then I
mean-
never saw them again.
I mean, granted, we are almost always as a group behind the server, right? So we're always slower. The server was early on, it was PvPing, and you can see people, and they were killing each other. They couldn't kill us because we had the flag.
They were trying.
They were trying. Yeah, I would see people that try and kill us, but dude, it's just. I think with the clunky spell system and the clunky casting mixed with the movement, just looking at PvP, it seemed really bad, and also just mixed with the fact that we couldn't find anybody. We literally searched for 30 minutes. We roamed all the way across the continent looking at
To gank someone.
looking at the most popular spots. We looked on the map, like we couldn't find anybody. It was so frustrating. So I'm sorry, it's got to get an F. So that's just how it is. All right, so sound and graphics. Nathan.
I thought the graphics were serviceable. I'm not a big fan of isometric, but I thought it looked good. I think the world building was bad though, and it's mainly from everything just being flat, and that's all you can really explore. And anytime there's the tiniest little indent in the graphics, that meant you couldn't go. So it'd be like this tiny little step down, but you had to walk all the way around, which made exploring a big chore and not something I wanted to do. I would go more on world building, but that's kind of where this has to go because they built the world with graphics. The sound, it was okay. It was forgettable, I would say. There's not a single time I remember being like, ooh, I like this music. Was there even music? I don't know because it was that forgettable if there was. But it wasn't awful. I mean, the graphics looked good for an isometric game. I thought it looked good, and some of the mob types I actually was impressed with, and like, wow, that mob looks really cool. So I gave it a C.
Therek.
Yeah, there was music, Nathan. I noticed it. It was. I liked it actually. I thought it was subtle. It was without being boring. Like I actually found myself like it was in my head after we played it one night. So that's a good sign. I think that the models for some of the enemies were cool too. Like the fire creatures had neat sort of models. I thought those looked good. It's annoying that there's no harvesting sounds. I know our friend Redbeard Flynn pointed this out in his video that he did about this game. Like there's no sound when you're chipping away at a stone. There's no like ambient noises. That's really, sort of on immersion friendly. I don't know. Overall, like you said, isometric game. I thought it looked okay. It still ran kind of funky for me. Like it was not great in terms of like smoothness. I think that yeah, it was just blah. It didn't really stand out in any way. I hold isometric games to a higher standard because I feel like it's hard. It's easier to do that than like a 3D world. So you should be more impressive. It should look really, really good, and it just didn't. It didn't hit that bar for me. So, and the height thing was definitely a thing, but I don't know if that's a graphics and more of a, game design, world design kind of thing. But overall, I gave the sound and graphics a D.
Des.
Yeah, I mean, to be quick, I think Therek brought up a pretty good point of like I hold isometric games to a higher standard as well. Coming from a Path of Exile background, where I mean that game's been out for many years and it still looks top of the line, incredible. And this, I liked the environments like generally. Um, the sound effects and music was like okay when it was there. Like the music was appropriate. The one song that I can recall, um, but not particularly memorable. I think that was well put. Big thing for me. It's 2022. I if we're gonna have a game like this that doesn't look insanely stellar, right? Got to be able to rotate the camera, and I got confirmation from the devs that there will never be rotating camera in this game, and I feel like that would have made it feel better, and that's just not going to happen. So I gave it a B- for sound and graphics, but it probably could have been lower just because it was okay.
Sparoh.
So I just wrote middle of the road, nothing impressive. It was all right. Again, nothing memorable to me that stood out. I don't like isometric games. I really don't like not being able to move my camera. I kept trying to move my camera and realizing I couldn't, and it was just always a disappointment.
The whole
'Cause-
time I'm sitting there
Yeah.
jamming E. I'm like,
I need to look around. I need to see the world around me, but it's just this constant one view. And that, again, just breaks my immersion. I don't like that kind of game. So I went with middle of the road grade with a C.
perfect. Cryptofox.
What are we on? I'm off in my own world.
Sound and graphics.
Sound and graphics, it's middle of the road for me. Like I like the music. Graphics look cool. I don't know. It didn't blow me away, but it was a nice game. C.
Seems to be a trend. Dance.
So I was watching a video earlier today, which is a retrospective on the game Arcanum. Therek, yeah.
That was a good game.
It was a great game, absolutely broken with bugs, but a great game. But the person who made the video pointed out when they were talking about the textures and color palettes in the game that it looked all right for a game that came out in the early to mid 90s, only it came out in the 2000s. That's a lot of how I felt with Fractured. Do you like copy paste tile textures for your landscape and what looks like a whole bunch of just repeated and slightly flipped assets? You might like this.
Oh,
They had a couple of interesting creature models, but everything that went around them was just seriously. As we were riding to the countryside, it was there's where the tiling ends and starts again. There's where the tiling ends and starts again. It's like somebody just discovered Photoshop and the rubber stamp tool and just stamped the world out. That's rough. And you combine that with isometric and the fact that they didn't do good camera occlusion transparencies for items in the world. I gave it a D.
Tetsu.
So I gave it a let's see. The plus was like everyone else, decent graphics. It wasn't bad. You know, the only other isometric games I played in recent knowledge, other than RTSs, but I feel like they're different isometric. But other than like Lost Ark and this are the only like two isometric things. It was all right. But then I gave it a negative because it was isometric because I don't really like it. But I am inspired by Sans to try and be objective. So because of that, I switched it from a D because I don't like it that much, and I'll give it a C because I'm like, you did all right for what it is, even though I don't really like what you have. So, yeah, that's it.
Mugen.
Like the isometric view for my survival games, especially if I cannot rotate my camera. So I like to be able to look around and all that stuff. So I gave it a D- because I want to be able to look around.
Yeah, it's killer. You can't make an isometric game and not let us rotate the camera. You know what else you can't do? Are you listening to me, Fraction Online? You also cannot lock me into mouse move. That's the most ridiculous,
horrible.
awful thing ever.
Yeah, agree.
Wazdi, look, it's back on my wall. You can see it in my camera. Wazdi, like, learn it, live it, love it, man. Like, come on.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, that's great.
It's
Yeah,
an
it was
MMO.
bad.
You cannot. No, don't ever do that. No.
Well, and what was insulting even more is that you could zoom in your camera so
Nathan.
far, but it was
Yes.
completely
But you
useless to
can't
play
zoom
like
out at
that.
all.
Yeah, you couldn't zoom out at all, which is weird.
What? And you zoomed in, and it was all pixelated. It's like it didn't get clearer. It just zoomed in on the already like maximum.
Yeah,
graphics.
it was like you zoomed in with like on like a software suite.
Yeah.
Instead
We're
of
back.
like,
We're back to
Digital zoom, not
we're-
optical zoom.
We're back to Photoshop
Yeah,
again.
digital
Somebody
zoom,
figured
yes.
out the Photoshop zoom.
Hey Tetsu, are you thirsty?
Yes, I am. Yes. I need some caffeine.
The other thing, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it loaded the video intro in a different window than the game. Did you guys experience
I
that?
did say that. Yeah.
No, I didn't notice that.
Who does that? That is so weird. Because then it would leave that window up while you were playing the game, and it's just like that's just the and it would take system resources. I'm like, and I'm just like the type of guy, like I got my little system resources thing on my other window,
Mhm.
and I'm like watching it. And if you suck up my RAM, like you get the Control Alt Delete kill. Like so, I would just constantly kill in that window. I'm like, what? Why do you need to launch the preview window in another or your little intro movie in another window? That's so horrible. So those were
Yeah.
my little nitpicky things. I did give it a C too. I would have given it better. I think they had a nice look. I think it could have looked nice. It could have been an upgraded Ultima Online. I think that's what they were going for. They just didn't get there. And that could be because they just ran out of money. It could just be because it's a small team, but it's just not good enough. It's not good enough for 2022. I'm sorry. I want it to be better, but it's not. Okay. So catch up. Nathan.
Well, I will say that so far, it's not bad. You know, like their monetization's pretty fair, and from what I experienced, it didn't look like there was anything bad. But it's game ago, so let's just be honest with ourselves. Unless the game gets shut down faster than Game Ago can flip on that switch, it will get nasty, because that's what they do. So I have to give it credit for now because that's what it is. But we all know the truth that if the game survives, Game Ago is awful with the monetization practices. So for now, though, I'm gonna give it a good score. But I can't give it a great score because I know it's just BS because it's early access and eventually it's going to get awful. So I'm going to give it a B.
Oh, that's Nathan's highest grade so far.
Yeah.
Therek.
I gave it a B as well, and largely Sparoh's little mini rant there was on point for this because it is basically how I feel about it. I've never before this there was another game that we played that I bought in early access. I never bought early access games ever, just on principle. But I did for this, and
I'm sorry, Therek.
Sorry. You guys broke my moral, character. I'm lesser than I once was, less principled than I once was. But it couldn't cost more than what it does, honestly. If it was one dime more than the $20 Canadian that it was, I think so. It would be a bad scene. So yeah, a B. Just that's it.
Des.
Yeah, this, as we've noted, this was a very early access, and it felt like unfinished. And while that was a lot of my kind of defensiveness over a lot of these like parameters that we're grading on, I this isn't how you do early access. Like this would only be acceptable if it's like a a solo dev project. Because there are some others that I've bought into early access that are, incomplete but show promise, but it's just one person working on it, This isn't one person. And so I feel like it feels like they were forced into early access for sure, like 100%. And that's not a good feeling for a product. And hopefully, they get enough money that they can keep going. but it's not feeling good. And there's no cash shop yet, right? But as people have pointed out, it's game ago. So it's hard to give this an A for, it's not bad yet, but I gave it a B- because I don't think this was a good way to go into early access. There are plenty of other great examples of games that have a core gameplay loop that are solid, and they enter early access and finish content. Valheim, easy example. But this was not that. This was just incomplete, and yeah.
I don't understand. Why don't you guys trust Game Ago? Like, what have they ever done?
Let's review their game list.
Sparoh. Sparoh.
So even after my little rant, I gave this a higher grade than I think my rant would have shown, but I felt it was worth the value. I knew I was going into early access. I didn't care for where it was at in early access, but I thought they were upfront with what I was getting. I had nothing telling me to give them more money. So that always gets an A in my book when I pay for a product, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So I gave it an A.
What did we pay for this? Was it $15?
Yeah, I think it was like 20 something for me, so probably 15 for all you.
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like $15. Cryptofox.
Yeah. What topic are we?
Cash shop.
Cash shop.
Monetization.
Monetization. Yep.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, got distracted. Yeah, I gave it an A. I didn't really see a cash shop, so no cash shop makes me happy.
Yep.
Sometimes cash shops make me happy, like in ESO. Somewhat addicted to that one.
Just ask Sparoh about her mount collection.
All 42,000 of them, I think.
They're so pretty.
And just don't look at mine.
Yeah, let's see Stan's collection.
No, you're feeding the machine. No.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Stands. Oh, go ahead, Cryptofox. I thought you were done.
No, I was just saying, yeah, it's A.
Stands.
So I'm leaving my grade for this one at incomplete, specifically because I know their plans for the monetization of this game. So I am not going to give them credit for what they're doing right now. We have Game Ago's, we have what it is right now, which is the one-time early access buy-in. And if that's all that this game ever was, that would be commendable. But it's not what they're going to be doing. They have confirmed that there's going to be the box price. There's going to be an optional VIP/sub system setup, and a cash shop with cosmetic items and who knows what else because it's Game Ago. This is a scenario that could very easily turn ugly real quick when Game Ago decides that the game isn't making enough money and they want to bleed it.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at right now is in no way, shape, or form the end game for Fractured's monetization. So I'm leaving it incomplete.
Yeah. Tetsu.
I gave it a B. Because there's no monetization. That's no cash shop. I hate cash shops in all forms, cosmetic or not. But the reason why I didn't give it an A is because I actually enjoy subscriptions, weirdly enough. But I feel that goes back into the game, truly goes back into the game, without incentivizing them to nickel and dime me with a cash shop. Because I feel when you spend money in a cash shop, it's incentivizing the developer to nickel and dime you more. But when you spend money into subscription, it incentivizes them to make the game better so you continue to play it. So that's why they didn't get an A from me, because they didn't have subscription. But yeah, that's my thing on monetization. Short and sweet.
Very cool.
Oh wait, one more thing. Also, I also broke my morals on this stream. The first time I streamed was in DC Universe, and I'm like, let me do something for my commemoration of coming on the stream, and I bought like a $5 pack, but then the costume was like $5.05, and I'm like, you son of a.
I'm
So,
just leading people down
yeah.
the dark road left and right on this stream.
Uh,
Just call me
Tetsu,
Draq. Just call me Draq the Dark Lord from here on out.
Tetsu, we were principled people at one point, no longer.
Yeah, that's it.
Muujin, Cash Shop, monetization.
I gave it an A for now because there's so many things that scream cash up. You want to get rid of the timers for your crafting stuff. Here, pay some money, get rid of that. Hey, you want better conversion rates on your ore? Here, pay for that. Yeah, it's so, like I said, A for now.
Better monetization. Shut them down.
Game
That
over.
agent's
All
still-
right,
There we go.
are we back?
We're back up.
All right,
We're
we're
back.
back. Woo!
Yay.
That was not me. It wasn't on my end. My internet was up the whole time. So, yeah, there may have been some foul play by Gamigo. We'll never know.
We got
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
got the
Allegedly.
Anyway, what I was talking about was, it kind of seems like maybe they don't have their act together enough to have their pay to win stuff in the game, which makes me sad because I kind of thought maybe they were going to be a little bit more principled. I would give it a B- for now, but if you're watching this 6 months from now, you need to be very careful about what you're getting yourself into, because as everyone else has stated, Gamigo does not have a good history with this. They are basically here to pillage. So it's not good. So yeah, B- for now. Probably if I would have listened to Stan's first, it would have been a lot lower. Lord Immersion, Fractured Online, Nathan.
Oh, here we
Yeah, so here we go. There is no lore. There is no story. You can look it up on their webpage, but it's even there. It's awful. It's just like, oh, there's some humans, and they're gonna conquer, and there's some cats, and they're gonna gather. And I mean, it's just awful. It looks like something that a brand new, like maybe like middle school who just started, like, I'm gonna try to write some things for a school project might have made. Also, like immersion. I would be shocked if anybody got immersed in this game. It's flat, empty, boring, lifeless world. The only thing that could have given this game immersion would be if there was a ton of people and the people had the mechanics in the game to be able to bring life to the game, but they don't. Sure, they can build things. That doesn't bring immersion, especially when the houses all look the same, the towns all look the same. It wouldn't matter. Even if there was 10,000 people on this one server, it would still be boring, lifeless, and useless. There is no lore. There is no story. They didn't even try to make a story. We don't even know why we're here. We don't know why we came on this world. All we know is a goddess split the races up into three. Apparently, they believe in segregation, and they split them all up into three different planets. It's literally all we know, and that's it. And there's no way for you to find out more. There's not even interesting locations for you to really be like, wow, I wonder what this is and how this got to be here. There's literally nothing for lore or immersion. Fight me for it. I'm giving it a triple F minus. It's awful. Terrible. Worst
What?
I've ever seen in an MMO. Never seen that bad before.
No. Fight me for it. Nathan Napalm goes full fight me.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Lore Master, are you going to argue with that?
I am not gonna fight Nathan. Nathan's got it. Nathan's got it on lockdown here. I mean, so the whole thing about this game is that, like, it's these three races, and there's like these differences between them, and it's a PvP game where you're gonna be like, you choose your race. Now, one of the races isn't even in for early access. How can you, like, again, early access we understand is limited, but the demon race in this game was not even available. So, I mean, anyway, I mean, you need that. If that's your whole foundation of your lore basis, and that's not in, you have no foundation. Nothing's happening, right? And like Nathan said, there's no characters in the world. There's no NPCs. Nothing to sort of tell you about. Give flavor. It's like drinking, flavorless mush. It tastes awful. It has no taste. It's nothing. So I mean, what are you going to do, right? It has no to speak of. Now, the only saving grace, there is one thing I liked, and that's, we mentioned earlier, the bestiary and the descriptions. I think Mugen, you brought it up, how it talks about like, the resistances, and Desryn, you said too, like learning about different creatures as you fight them. I consider that part of lore and part of the immersion factor. That's there. I love that. Games that do that. Games like Pillars of Eternity does that really well. Lots of games do that really well. Love that. And it'll save it from a triple F minus and just leave it at I even was generous to give that as much credit as I did, and I brought it to a D minus, but it could have definitely been an F, but I'll give it a slight break on that. So D minus for me.
Desryn.
Yep, same. I mean, I would put it at an F. I like the saving grace of the mob descriptions and the bestiary and stuff. As much as I love that, I never found myself immersed. Like there was one moment where I was like, hey, this for some reason this kind of feels a little bit like Divinity Original Sin, but then I was like, except for Divinity Original Sin, like the entire world feels really rich, and this just feels randomly placed. Like everything felt just randomly placed, and I didn't feel like any belonging. There's no drama. Like the drama that we experienced was people trying to rush to like buy cities for some reason. But that was like it. There's no reason.
There's
for
some
these
bargain
bosses.
cities available right now. I guarantee you there's some prime locations.
Oh yeah.
It really just didn't feel like there was any rhyme or reason to anything. It kind of felt just more like a tech demo, honestly. The story that they've tried to present, and they've tried to put stuff on like Twitter and the websites to try to like have something there, but it's just I don't want to completely agree with Nathan, but like it feels just so last minute, like, oh, we should probably have a reason for this, or like, hey, let's put some like deer heads on humans and like
That's exactly it.
like it's harsh, but like I was hoping for a modern Ultima Online, where Ultima Online can be very immersive, and even with the better graphics, it just wasn't at all, and that was so surprising for me. So yeah, that's an easy F for me.
Yeah. Sparoh.
So I wrote down 0 immersion. This is a game you log into with your friends to kill stuff. That's basically all you do in this game. And as much as this is the first game that I would say by the end of each session, even though we always have fun together, I was ready to be done. Like, I've had enough. And we've always said some of the worst games we've played and graded, at least we're playing with friends, and that makes the MMO fun. This was not fun in the lore and immersion sphere at all. I would even throw down the Nathan's Guild War 2 Gauntlet and say this is not an MMO to me at all. Yeah, this is getting the no way. This is not something that you log in, you socialize, you do any of those things that you would do in an MMO with lore and immersion. So the only thing that did bring my grade up a smidge, a fraction of a smidge, is the fact that it did have the animal things and the descriptions and the skills and things, because that does take time to write in the different mobs, and it is in the lore category.
Yeah, it feels like there was some effort put in there, right?
Yeah, so that brought the grade from a triple F minus to an F.
Just regular F.
Just a regular F.
Cryptofox, lore and immersion.
Is that an F for fractured there, Sparoh?
Yes, the F is for fractured.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. All right, well, I'll just throw a minus on that and call it good. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Lore? Where? No, I'm sorry. That's it. I don't have anything to say because there's nothing to talk about.
Stands.
So back in the day when we played games on like the Atari 2600, we knew that any story we were going to get with games, any info about the world or something was going to be on the box art and maybe a little booklet, because all that was going to be on the screen was a couple of dots running around that you could chase and or shoot. That's the last point in time in which lore existing solely outside of your game and still being considered lore and not fan fiction that the company wrote was acceptable. If it doesn't actually exist in your gameplay, it is not lore. It is your author's fan fiction. This game has no lore to speak of. This game is absolutely not immersive. Why am I here? Who am I actually killing? And why should I care? Nathan, I'm right there with you at the triple flaming F- on this one.
Triple flaming F-.
Ooh, it's on fire. Stands
Yeah.
in the fire.
Yeah.
He is standing in his triple flaming F-, you might say.
Not
Tetsu.
anymore. He was.
Yeah, for this one, what did I write? I wrote non-existent, no NPCs, not even a table I can talk to. So it was like it is what it is at this point. I don't know what else to tell you.
It's so horrible.
I got an F. I was like Sparoh said. I was the first time that I was like, all right, please just end this game already. Like, we had fun for the first hour, but yeah, I mean, after the while, just like, all right, it's just an overland and random mobs, and that's about it. I didn't know why I was there or who sent me. What happened to the people? That'd be good. That'd be a good lore right there. What happened to everyone?
Yeah,
That
made
would be a
those
great
towns.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the lore. You're totally
That
right
could
in
be a storyline in of itself.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Hey, I know-
break the fourth wall here a little bit. And
I know somebody has a Ouija board. We need to be able to communicate with the Lord to see who killed it.
But yeah, that's it for me. Just lore's non-existent. No NPCs, not even a table. It's an F.
When you make talking to tables look good.
Mujin, lore immersion.
I'm going to say clearly nobody watched the opening video because there's all your lore right there.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mugen. I did think of that too.
That doesn't exist in game though.
It's not even in.
Yeah.
It's literally its own
literally
separate
in
window.
its own separate window. It's playing an MP4 file on your computer through Windows Media Player. Like,
I will admit, I control it, deleted it immediately. I thought a virus was happening.
That lore in the intro video is like driving through a 3-block town.
That wasn't good.
I would say the only thing that really saved it from complete F is what Therek brought up, the
Like to be
creature.
scary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So I'm gonna give it an F plus.
F+.
Plus.
I thought it was going to be safe from being
Is
the
that
only
our
non-F.
very generous.
Is that our first F
I
plus?
think it is.
I've never
I
seen
think
an
so.
F plus
I think
before.
so.
Amazing. Mugen,
Oh,
you
Mugen,
nailed
man,
it, dude.
you're amazing.
Can I
I think
change
Game
my
Ago.
mark to an F plus? I don't like my only being the non-F on the board. I'd like to change my mark to an F plus. I've been inspired by
pressure.
Mugen.
How
Hold
can we
on.
make a negative a positive? That positive is like the little engine that could. This thing is holding it from being a minus right there.
Fracture's parents' Game Ago is going to be so proud with that score.
There you go, Therek. You're now an F
Thank you.
plus.
Yes. I feel way better about that now.
Listen, I got nothing new to add to this conversation, and I am not the lore guy. I most of the time skip all the lore all the time, but you got to give me something. You have to give me a little, like, I don't know, something. There's
You
just
deprive Draq of the opportunity to
oh
ignore
my
the
god,
lore.
yeah, this is 100% true. Like, I don't even have anything to skip. In theory, this should be my perfect game.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the Draq of MMOs.
But,
It has no lore. It's just the lore
if I would have thought of that line earlier, I totally would have rated it an A- and called it a day. But I wasn't thinking along those lines. No, you got to give me something, man. Like some kind of lore. Even the games that are worst at lore give you something. This was not even an attempt. It's an F, and it's bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
Oh, this is the first game ever to have all Fs across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
In
pretty
a
bad.
category, yeah.
Oof.
Clipped.
Any category, yep.
All right. Well, let's move on from that, please. So fun, addictability.
I don't think it's gonna be much better, Draq.
Nathan.
Listen. I want to start this off with saying something nice. It's not about fraction.
Okay, good.
I consider you guys to be my closest, best of friends. And I'm gonna be honest. I wanted to call in sick. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to. Even the camaraderie and playing together was like barely enough for me to log in and do this game. I actually hated playing this game. I would have rather anything. I have a larger appreciation for Guild Wars 2. I had no fun. There wasn't even a single 1 minute that because as soon as I logged in, it started aggravating me, and I just never even once was like, oh, I'm having a little bit of fun. That never happened even one time. I wasn't addicted at all. Not even nothing. If it wouldn't have been for this group, I would have logged in, seen what I saw, realized it was that bad, and I would have logged out and uninstalled it and never installed it ever again.
Can I just add one quick thing to that, Nathan? Is that
Yes.
even Des and I both caught COVID just so we didn't have to play.
Yeah, I was jealous. I was jealous that they had COVID. I was totally jealous. I was like, dude, this would be a great time to get COVID.
I considered
dedication to your craft.
socializing to try and get COVID just because the two of you figured out the loophole.
Stans was
Yeah,
all,
I
hey,
was jealous.
Stans was all, hey, Des, want to come over and want to hang out?
Have a little party,
I
a
will
little
buy
get
your
together.
plane ticket, man.
That's dedication to your craft there, Sparoh.
So,
Mhm.
so I hated it, didn't like it, never had any fun, not even for a second. Had zero fun with the game. The game provided no fun, not addicted to nothing in the game. Flaming triple F minus burning in
Ooh.
hell, awful.
Uninstall.
Worse than Guild Wars 2. Wow.
I uninstalled it before the stream even ended the last time. I was done. Like I do
Mhm.
not like it.
Yeah, sometimes some games are liked more than others. Theric, fun, addictability.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have to keep in mind there were some good things I said. It's a group-centric game. I give it credit for being a group-centric game. That's what I like. I like group-centric games. I liked our posse. I like the skills collection I talked about. I want to see what the other continents look like. I know that they're probably not going to be. It's going to be underwhelming. I have a feeling that that's going to be the case. This game needs people. It's not really much of a game without the people. So there's not much fun to be had without a big player base. It's not the worst game we've played in my mind. It's not. I did have some fun when we were playing it. I enjoyed myself. Overall, I gave it a B-, and that's generous. But I like I said, I kind of feel like I'm gonna go back when it launches and I'm gonna try it just to see where it's at. So, B-.
Oops. B-. Des.
All right. Yeah. There were just so many clunky mechanics. I never really felt like the game played smoothly. And even when it was playing like okay, there was like a bunch of little things that would kind of get on your nerves, that just like get in the way of having fun. And even though, we enjoy playing as a group, that was still happening constantly. We're constantly like doing the loot in combat, not being able to move. Your character just stops moving because you glanced over some random thing. Just so many little issues that we didn't even like bring up tonight
Mhm.
that get in the way of even having fun with the amount of game that's there, which isn't a lot.
Oh my goodness, the boss fight. I forgot about the boss fight with the wolves.
Yeah.
And they were all over the ground and you couldn't even move. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
exactly.
A pile of wolf corpses.
There were wolf corpses everywhere. We literally couldn't move because there was no place on the screen to click because everything.
And they designed it that way.
So
like,
awful.
Yeah, and so as with other people, like I honestly didn't find myself wanting to log in. Like I logged out after every single one of our sessions. Like, and that's not a good feeling. The one time I logged in of my own volition was I was trying to prepare for the next stream because I needed healing spells. And I knew I needed to heal, and I ran into Draq.
Oh yeah, we did run around. That was fun.
And that was the only time I had a bit of fun outside of our sessions, mostly because I never felt like I would have fun logging in anyway. I didn't know what to do, or I didn't like really feel like doing anything in the game. It was just it's rare that I've felt so not willing to log into an online game. So yeah, I'll give it a D- just because there was a glimpse of fun for a moment.
I'm glad I bumped you up to a D-, buddy. Sparoh.
All right. Well, 0 addiction. Don't want to play it again. Don't want to try it later. Again, this is not an MMO to me. This is the exact opposite of we want a world, not a game. This is a game, not a world. It's just this thing you log in to click, 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 and kill stuff and do random things that don't matter. I have played certain pre-alpha games that you never want to leave. You will spend numerous amount of hours wanting to do things and never want it to be over. Complete. And the fact that this has the nerve to come out and call itself early access to this is insulting. I think it's awful. And I will never try it again just for the fact that they came out and called this a game. They were willing to take money, and no. So it's an absolute F. I wish I would have thought to do the flaming triple Fs, but on my sheet says F.
Cryptofox.
Yeah. I gave it a C, but I left my description blank because
You couldn't remember why you liked it? Give it a C.
Gotta be something.
Wow.
That's
I'm
not a
still
ringing
patching.
endorsement. I'm still patching.
I'm still patching.
You should definitely fill that in.
The patching
Yeah,
process.
put that in there. I'm
Yes.
still patching. That's great.
Stands.
Yeah, so all of the myriad of bugs that we had that we've all talked about that are largely just a cause of incomplete or no QA, isometric, the click to move and attack, all the weaknesses of a pure sandbox without being able to back up any of its strengths. I have never been so happy to uninstall a game in my life. This is the second in a row triple flaming F- for me. This was not addictive. This was not fun. The only time I logged in, this is so far the only game where the only time I logged in between our streams was again to make sure that I had everything for the stream, and realized that the bank chest had eaten some of the wolf teeth we needed. So I went out and killed wolves for an hour.
Rough.
I'm sorry, buddy. Had to do that.
Way to take one for the team, Stans.
Yeah.
Thanks
Tetsu.
for
I wasn't
reminding me,
about
Stan.
to ask
Oh, God.
anybody else to do it. They'd been entrusted with me, and my bank chest ate up. So
See, I knew I forgot to do something. Hold on, let me hit this uninstall.
Tetsu.
I wrote nope. Plain old nope.
That's not a
Just
great.
Nope.
Yeah, there's like everyone else is saying, it was just, and I feel bad because I feel the devs tried. They put themselves out there, and for all their shortcomings, they tried, but this was not fun. I didn't want to play anymore. What I was playing, I noticed, I'm like, if I go back to stream, I can count how many times I yawned. Because I remember it was like I'm like, it was so many yawns during the stream, and I'm like, I should count it at this point. Because it was just really bad. So I mean, it was fun playing with everyone, but even that could not counteract the game itself. I'm like, this is just, it's like if we were just, I was gonna say skipping rocks, but that's probably more fun skipping rocks on a lake than doing that with you guys. So
Definitely.
it was just boring. It was not addicting at all. It was not fun. But I did remember one thing. I did have fun pretending to be a Mongol horde when we first got our horses.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
That's it.
This game is literally 3 years away from being ready for being early access.
Yeah. The problem.
3 years away from an early access.
Wow.
So yeah, F in case you didn't get that.
Perfect. Mujin.
Yeah, there were things that I liked, like the learning from your enemies, the crafting of the house, but not the waiting for the crafting materials. So I gave it a C minus.
Yeah, and you were really enjoying yourself for the first until the crafting got away from you and they had the timers and stuff. You were having a good time. You did enjoy it.
Yeah, I noticed
That's
you did.
true.
Yeah, I would say Mugen probably enjoyed it the most out of anyone here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I
For a
think we
time.
can enjoy aspects of the game, but not the whole game. You
Right.
know, it can inspire new games in the future by doing something right in the game that doesn't
Yep.
quite get all the pieces together. So
For
yeah,
sure.
even a
Yeah,
bad game.
I'll be
can have
checking up
good-
on it, but
some good things.
it's
Yeah,
not
it does.
something
I
I
agree.
play daily.
I forget who I was talking to. Maybe it was Therek, but the idea of, and not all the skills, but the idea of like having mobs in Pantheon where you kill them a certain amount of times and then you get a skill, I think that's super fascinating, and they should definitely steal. Like I love
But
that.
instead of that, be a scroll or something more in
Or
fit
whatever,
with the-
whatever.
Right.
Right, but the idea of you kill a mob a certain amount of times and you gain knowledge, and then that's how you get the skill or whatever. I think
Or tied to perception. It would be
Yeah.
cool. The mob description and
Mhm.
you know.
It's like D&D, you know.
Yeah,
you
that
kill
feels like
something
D&D.
I think that's a great idea, and if you could
Yeah.
tie that in nicely with perception, or I think that's actually the best way to do it. Tie it in with perception, and then you get a skill that way. That would be like, that's way better than going into town and paying gold to a vendor, right? I like that idea.
In an expansion, Visionary Realms, in an expansion.
Yeah, I'm not adding development time.
Don't add development time.
Could you imagine if they took that idea of killing something enough and made that like referential to an aspect of like the ranger class in Pantheon? Like, you kill a certain creature enough, you start learning like nuances about certain creatures. That
Or-
would be really good.
or you track it better, right?
There you go.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you kill rabbits or bears or whatever, then you're able to track it better, farther away, that type of stuff. Anyway, moving
Sounds
on.
good.
For me, I also enjoyed the game. I don't generally enjoy these types of games. It wasn't like I'm addicted to this game and I won't be playing it again. I have no desire to come back. But there was something about learning the skills from the mobs and camping those mobs that was super addictive. And I found myself logging in. I had my laptop, and I was camping stuff, and I was having a good time with it. It just, for me, it just sparked a fun element of the game. Even though there was tons and tons of broken stuff with it. So I can't main it. I won't be coming back. It did a Vanguard, right? It did it launched too early. It can't recover. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. That's how it worked with Vanguard for me. And I loved Brad McQuaid, and I was all in on Vanguard, but they blew it on the launch, and I never came back. I came back 20 years later, but it's, a non-paying version, so it doesn't really count. But I just can't do it. I can't do your new release that's a money grab and then take you seriously later. You're done. You've gotten all the money you're going to get out of me with your $15. And maybe that's enough to make it worth your while. And I had fun for a month. So $15, if I translate that over the amount of time I spent on this game, it was worth it for me.
Yep.
So I gave it a C- for addictability / fun. All right, here we are, rounding the corner. Overall, Nathan, I'm on pins and needles.
All right, so listen. I want to start this with something I never told anybody. I'm gonna reveal it right here on the stream.
Oh, boy.
I didn't even have to pay for this game. It was given to me by Game Ago.
Oh,
Okay. And actually, it was the company before they got bought out by Game Ago. So I was offered a deal where basically I could get paid to play this game. And I, by the way, barely survive right now on my content creation, right? I'm paying the bills, which is all I really want. But I turned that down immediately. I am not going to pretend to like a game I don't like. I hate this game so much it's not even worth being paid to play. Then that's bad. So it would have been easier for them to win me over because they were literally offering me things that was incentivized and would make could be good for me. But I still, even with all the incentivization, hate this game. It is awful to me. This is exactly everything that I preach that I don't want MMOs to do. You need a living, breathing world. You need to create a world. That's why making MMOs is so hard. That's one of many reasons, is because you have to create an actual world that people want to be in and want to return to. I didn't want to return to it ever, and I never will. I will never play this game again. I will. It's awful. It's just one of the worst ones I've ever played, and even just saying we'll give them a little bit of credit because it's early access, that's just kind of like a marketing term to start making money right now, and it doesn't give them any kind of leeway or anything, in my opinion. So I give it a triple F minus. Hate this game. It's the worst out of all the games. I've never actually, even worse, it's the worst video game I've ever played. I had more fun as a kid playing ET on the Atari, which is
E.T..
world renowned for being the worst game. I had more fun playing that game. I hated Fracture.
Are you going to bury this in the desert, Nathan?
I would if I could,
Yeah.
but it was digital, so it's just buried in my somewhere deep down in my hard drive, the remnants of where I uninstalled it.
Wow.
All right, Therek. I'm not sure how you're going to follow that, but give
Yeah,
it a
I
shot.
can't really follow that. I don't think any of us are going to be able to follow that. None of us were
Skip the
offered money to
score.
play this game. It's not the worst game I've ever played. It's not the worst MMO we've played on the show for me.
Oh.
For me, games that manipulate and prey on stupidity and psychological tactics and do all those shitty things that MMOs do with their cash up and all that stuff, that'll always be worse for me than a game that's a poorly made game like this that is unfinished, people have put effort into it and worked on it and made it. It's not going to be a game that it's not going to go in any kind of lists of the MMOs that change the genre. It's not even going to get in the list of MMOs people are probably going to be playing, but it's not the worst game. The fun part of it that I talked about in the last section, that my grade, my B- was based on that. This is worse because it takes into account the other problems with this game, which are lots. We talked about them. It gets a C for me, and it's just average, if less than average, but it's an honestly made game that is not trying to do something evil. There's a difference between a bad game and an evil game, and this is not an evil game. So
Not yet.
Right.
Des.
Man, this one actually hurts me a lot, just because I really, really like the indie and small studio space in the game industry. I think it's just a really positive place where just anything can happen, and a lot of people working really, really hard on passion projects and probably not making jack for money. And I feel like Fractured probably falls into that. They were obviously in development for quite a while. Um, Making an MMO is hard, and I feel for them. I feel for the team a lot for this, um, both because obviously we're given bad grades and the reviews are bad, and obviously people are leaving the game, and it hurts a lot because I could see any small studio being in that same place, and this feels like it was rushed to early access. Like that was probably their only option. Get published by Game Ago and go to early access, or let it die, and that sucks, man. But the game as it is, uh, it shows a tiny bit of promise with things like the knowledge and skill system. Potentially interesting PvP, but uh, it doesn't fulfill any of it right now, really. And the overall gameplay experience was just really, really lackluster. And regardless of being a small team, props to them for trying something and putting it together and getting it this far. But I have to still give it. I'll give it an F plus because I
Yeah.
feel for the team.
All you guys are copying Mugen, and I'm not okay with that.
I'm totally copying Mugen. I'm
Totally.
totally
I love it,
copying
yeah.
Mugen. Because it's I don't want to say it's 1,000% their fault. Like stuff happens. I'm sure years down the line, maybe something will surface on like why the game's in the state that it's in. But it is in this state, and it is on early access, and it is asking for money, even if it's only a small amount. But yeah, it's a F plus for me, and I would love to see this game as they envisioned it from the start. But I imagine we might not ever see that, and that makes me sad. Sorry to be a downer.
True.
Sparoh.
Thanks.
All
Jack.
right. So let's start positive. The redeeming feature was the grouping. I gave that an A plus, and that it does not have a cash shop yet. So that got an A. So that's going to bring it up a bit. The rest of it, though, that it came out calling itself early access, I find absurd. There's just not much else good I can say about it. And I do not like ripping apart games at all. It is somebody's work. So this doesn't make me feel happy to
Yes.
have all these Fs and things at all. But the honest truth of how I feel is this game should have never come out right now. It should have waited. It needed a lot of time to cook, get systems in, finish the game. Like it gets a D. The D is the best I could do.
Cryptofox. Overall
Yeah,
grade.
so all right. So my day job is a business analyst. So I see projects through from inception to completion. And my best assessment of where this project is in the process of the development is 3 years away from being in beta. Um, I'm sorry. I think getting timelines down and everything and managing all the money is probably something that was a crux for this game early on in their development, and they were just trying to generate some money so they can get it across the finish line. But I mean, if you're not planning accordingly, that finish line is a lot further out than you might suspect sometimes. So uh, I see the potential in the game. I love what I can kind of see what their vision is. Uh, I really hope it makes it there. I'll come back and check it out when it's further down the road, just because I play isometric games. I play Diablo 3 and things like that, so I'm okay playing this game. Never been like a sandbox person, but this is actually kind of fun, and I was enjoying myself here and there. But it's definitely not done. I give it a D plus, and the plus is pulling that D along. So.
You mean if it ever patches for you, you'll check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, my uninstall just finished, so I
Well-
guess the patch is done.
Well, I have to say that I am actually not shocked that the best score so far is the guy who got to play the game the least. That makes perfect sense.
Stands.
So I get, like other people have said, I hate coming in and just absolutely dragging on a game. I would love if every game we played, we find multiple positive things to say about, because I am a firm non-believer in the mono MMO, that there is the right way to MMO and that should be the only type of game out there and everything else is bad. I would love a whole variety of games out there to suit this audience and this group and this group. Just a smorgasbord of things to choose from. This game fulfilled none of those. This game did not do anything well that it set up. And see, Sparoh in chat, like, you actually touched on exactly where I was going to go with this. The MMO portion of it potentially is here, massively multiplayer online. In theory, that could actually happen. This is not an RPG. This fails at the RPG portion of that. This game got an F from me overall. There were just too many I want to stop playing moments. And I hate to say it because I want more good games.
Tetsu.
What can I say that hasn't been said on this one? It is a. I feel bad because it is their work, and they had a. I think Therek said it best. It's not a evil game; it's a bad game, and so I don't want to give them a super bad score. So it's just not done. It's and I'm not a fan of isometric games either, but everyone should have a home. Just not here for me. So I gave it a D because you know what, they tried. They for now with microtransactions it's all right. I mean they have implemented it in, so good on them for that. And the concept is cool. I like the idea. But it's just executed very badly for whatever reason, funding or getting pushed out, whatever it is. But yeah, I'll give it a D. Honest try. That's about it.
Mujin.
Minded overall, I guess. I like the learning from the enemies. Some of the crafting, they need to get rid of the excessive and depressing amount of timers on their crafting. I gave it a D plus. I will check in on it from time to time. It's only $15, but it's still my $15, so I'll check up on it once in a while, just because I spent money on it.
Yeah, I mean, this one was tough, right? It's an indie developer developing in Unity. Small team. It feels really familiar, right?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, where have we heard this one before?
And a lot of people are saying that it's never going to come out. It's not going to make it. It's a scam. And it just feels like, dude, we should be sticking up for this thing and like fighting for it. Oh, man, they made it hard. Like I really, really wanted to like this game a lot. But it's really hard. And Therek, of course, coined it best. It's not an evil game. It's just badly designed or not complete, I guess it's the best you can say is it's not complete, right? And so for me it gets a C minus. I'm like rooting for it, like, and I'm probably gonna be disappointed, but I wanted to win because it makes the genre look bad. Like the MMO genre. I don't want Kickstarter MMOs to fail. I don't want MMOs in general to fail, right? It just gives more ammunition to all the Pantheon haters that show up in our YouTube comments and are like, oh, well, this game's never coming out because, look at all the other MMOs that failed. And like, no, I don't want that. Like, it's not good. So I gave it a C minus. I mean, there's a lot of, I think maybe more than a little Pantheon love that's infused in that.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's a bow on Fractured Online. And we'll call it a day. So, Therek, have you made a decision about what you're going to do Thursday?
Yeah. So on Thursday night on the MMORPG 201 show, 7 o'clock Eastern on our YouTube channel, the Pantheon Plus YouTube channel. We are playing Embers Adrift, and we are leading off. Yeah, so it's me and Stans, Desryn, Tetsu, Asera, and Mujin playing some Embers Adrift. And we're going to have a really good time. We've all been diving into it a little bit so far, and we have some characters made up. And I'm really looking forward to it because this is a game that, again, we feel a lot of similarity to the game that we're all here for in the end. So I'm hoping it's going to go well. But yeah, definitely join in, definitely tune in, see us fool around and kill some boars and bears and deer for a little while and see where it goes. So that's 7 o'clock Eastern on our YouTube channel.
Very cool. I just want to point out that in chat, Sacred VR Dev just commented that he looks at it differently, that it will show how difficult the achievement is when the day that Pantheon launches and it comes out. So
Absolutely.
dude, preach it. Here, we'll give her a little Joppa here.
Dear Mother of God, save us. These games are getting bad out here. Jeez. Gosh. I can't believe, I've complained about games and things, but geez, man, I swear they're getting worse. It's like, it's almost as if they're like, you know what? What do people hate? Let's do that. Let's do that.
All right, Mr. Nathan Napalm, I'm giving you a shout out in chat. What do you got coming on this week?
I'll be streaming all week, but definitely come to my channel Saturday night, 11 p.m. Central, 12 a.m. Eastern for Cringe Pony TV Season 2 is launching this Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come join MMO. It's basically Saturday Night Live for MMOs, so come check it out.
Therek, you got anything else you need to talk about?
No, I'll shoot it to Desryn to say for the weekend show.
Oh yeah, yep. We got the rewind coming up again, full of a bunch of stuff. Hopefully, I will be 100% by then, and my usual chipper, bouncy self. Talk about some Pantheon and get everyone caught up on Sunday morning.
Yep.
Very cool. Mujin, I recently talked to him. He is doing some more stuff on his YouTube channel, so I gave that a little link down there. You should definitely go sub to him. You got anything going on this week, Mujin?
Yeah, just making videos and posting to my YouTube, trying to figure out what I want to output on there. I'm still working all the stuff.
Very cool.
Trying to learn as I go.
Sparoh?
Thursday. Yeah, Thursday I got the WoW Classic. We're doing dungeons with the multi-stream on the Twitch channel. And then Sunday we have our Dungeons and Dragons tabletop with Weave in the Void Twitch channel. Come hang out. See how Renfield plots to kill us.
Cryptofox? What you got going on streaming wise?
Yeah, so this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., I'm doing a 12-hour stream. It's going to be community day. So I'm going to be doing different gaming in 4-hour blocks. So going to start with Dead by Daylight till noon, then Fall Guys for a couple hours, and then Nathan, you said I'd like Overwatch 2, and I do, so I'm doing 2 hours of that. And then going to be doing some Jackbox party games. If you've never played that before, all you need is like mobile, tablet, whatever, and you sign into a little site and you can answer questions, participate in everything. It's really fun. And I'm going to be giving away things that I got at TwitchCon, just like this Ishtola. Ooh, can you see it?
Yep,
There you go.
Yeah, Ishtola from Final Fantasy 14. I'm going to be giving this away
Very
Nice.
cool.
as part of the stuff that's going out. So, yep. So,
That's-
Saturday.
Desryn, I know you're doing the 201 and the rewind, but I think you also have something else on Thursday. Would you like to talk about that?
I see what you guys are getting at now. Yeah, it is a hey, it's a new thing, it's a new thing. So since this is a Parting the Veil live week, I will be doing another Parting the Veil live plus you, or as some people are referring to it as plus you too.
Oh, that's good. I'll add that
Yeah,
in.
that is pretty
I
good,
love it.
actually.
But yeah, so I'll be hosting that with Redbeard Flynn. Our guy Man of Rohan is elsewhere in the world at that time, but me and him are going to be hosting it up, getting people in the green room to hear their thoughts on the Parting the Veil live, which sounds like it's going to be a very interesting one. So definitely show up for that. That should also be on Twitch. I get to take over Draq's Twitch channel for a bit, and it's going to be a good time.
Very cool. And also, so the 101 and the 201 will be splitting. We're doing Embers Adrift, so the 101 will be doing Tuesdays, and the 201 will be Thursdays. We'll be running 2 separate groups. Some of us are intermingling between the 2 groups, but it is going to be 2 separate groups, 2 sets of different characters. We're super excited about Embers Adrift. Some of us have kind of already started in and dived into stuff. So far, we're pretty impressed with it, and we're having a lot of fun. So if you want to come, make sure to come hang out with us next week as we start in on our next MMO, an MMO number 21. So very cool
Nice.
stuff.
Do we want to tell the audience what we're all playing?
We'll do that on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, this is getting a little long in the tooth here. We got to get going. All right, we're gonna do a raid here. We're gonna raid Dirty Old Socks. He's an EverQuest streamer and a fan of the channel. So make sure you give him some support, give him a little bit of love, and everybody can wave bye-bye to the people.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great week.
Goodbye.